Hello and welcome to Nick V Uncensored. Today we've got Clayton Thomas, and we're going to be talking about the health and the patents that he wants to discuss today. We're going to talk about the Genius Act and also the digital ID and currency system, what that means and what we need to be aware of, really. But just before we begin, I want to put a disclaimer out there because now we're back on YouTube and we want to, we don't want to violate the YouTube rules. And I want to say that me and Clayton, we're neither financial or health advisors. We're not giving any financial or health advice. This is for educational and entertainment purposes only. And we want you to do all of your research, and we are not claiming anything, and for you to do your research. And we are just having a discussion where we're just exploring and speculating, different outcomes in the world, etc. Clayton, thank you so much for joining me. How are you? And it's been a very long time. How are you?
Man, it's been too long. We're gonna do what Will Ferrell used to do in his skit. We're gonna explore the space.
I love that. Yeah, exactly.
Back. No, it's been an interesting season, has it not?
It really has.
We're in the unique time frame of health and wealth transference and moving a lot of things to the digital space on both sides, both from a health and wealth standpoint. And over the last 6 years, we've been through an interesting journey of learning, and from a root side and from a DRC perspective with what Christina has been working on over this last 6 years. We've really seen the break to where consumers hopefully can start to see the difference between trust and truth, because they are manipulated. The trust aspect has been one that is continually manipulated in many ways, and that's the beauty of Satan's trick, that 90 to 95% truth and 5% lies mixed in, which is how you get hooked. But within that, there is absolute truth. And in understanding healthcare, if you understand the business of healthcare and you understand how the drug space is done, where a drug is developed and then you've got anywhere from 20 to 100 plus patents behind a specific drug development. That's never been done in the supplement or the nutraceutical or nutritional supplement world. Christina's actually solved that because of being able to model an approach to proof and truth to track outcomes, have specific protocols and a protocol can be pharmaceutical, it can be nutraceutical, it can be anything. Having specific protocols, tracking the outcomes, publishing them with expert reviews, and then based on a case series, you can then apply for patents based on the data and based on the outcomes. And this is something that the pharmaceutical industry is required to do as well, because when they introduce a drug into the market, there's 7 years of post-marketing studies that are supposed to be done to track outcomes. That way they can find out the side effect profile. And this is something that happened at the beginning of I think it was the beginning of this year or last year, that if you go to the CDC website, you'll find that Moderna and Pfizer removed the original vaccines from the market. So they voluntarily removed them from the market. They've been banned for human use, which they did strategically because they eliminated any risk from any damage. Because they basically said, oh, the risk profile or whatnot might be too much, so we're just removing it from the market, which was genius.
For it's genius, yeah. And for your for YouTube, I'm just going to say that obviously that's probably factual because we can find that online that they did remove it, but you believe that they're protecting themselves. Yeah, I want to say we believe because I don't want to make any claims.
And the business of healthcare is really important to follow, and as far as a construct. So what we've been able to do with Root over the last 6 years, but in the last year, Christina's filed for approximately 40 patents for the proven protocols now that include clean slate, zero in, restore, relive greens, immune defense shield for addressing disease specific issues. It could be autism, ADD, ADHD, Alzheimer's, colon cancer, Parkinson's, diabetes. All of these different health conditions actually have patents now filed for specific protocols with the outcomes that go along with it. So you can look at it as a treatment protocol that's actually been patented because of proven outcomes. And that's never been done before outside of the pharmaceutical space. And so it's one to say, oh, trust what we're saying because we heard that this ingredient can do this. That's no longer viable. Right? You have to have truth. We have that. And now that we've got the science and we've got the proof from a product standpoint, as we've talked about before, when I was designing Root's ecosystem, it was designed as an algorithmic fintech ecosystem. My intention was to build something that could have rails off of the existing financial infrastructure because I've known for a long time what was coming and what was happening. And I've been fortunate to have been debanked, to have been attacked, much like Mark Andreessen had gone over with his interview with Rogan, talking about individuals and businesses getting debanked. I guess if you make donations to 47 and you're in pictures with them and you're known to be a little bit more conservative, you might get attacked a little bit. But what's been known as coming in this digital transformation that's taking place, and we saw this with the Genius Act, that what the Genius Act is a transfer of power and a transfer of data to Palantir and to the rest of tech. And because the outline and the construct was creating the mechanism to digitize assets. Mm-hmm. But what most people probably don't know, unless diving in deeply into the real definition of terms and the outline of what the Genius Act entails, is the core construct that is going to be monetized happens to be all of our data, is the public access to all of our health information, all of the content that we produce individually that we're supposed to own. It could be your medical records, it could be your health information, it could be everything that you post on social media, it could be your property, anything that you own that can be digitized. They're basically taking, and that they're going to turn into these assets for the company's better good. And
so you're thinking it's not giving us freedom by doing that? They'll be able to track, they could. Sorry? It's
a digital prison. And that's how it's designed.
Yeah. It can be perceived as a digital prison. I'm saying it like that for obvious reasons, but absolutely. But it doesn't give sovereignty in the way Bitcoin does, for an example.
And Bitcoin's a centralized mechanism as well.
Why do you say it's centralized?
Because it's an open ledger with keys that are public, and there's access into all of it. If they want to tax Bitcoin, they know everywhere it is. They know every transaction. They know what you bought it at. They know they can see all.
But it's only centralized. Bitcoin is, of course, I mean, if you've got it off the exchanges and you've got a cold wallet, and your wallet
off ledger. If it's off ledger, they can't see it. But if it's ever used, they know where it is. They know your cost basis, right? So even if you have it off ledger, they know what your cost basis is.
But sure, but how do they know that ledger is my ledger?
It's your ledger, but Bitcoin is a centralized mechanism because there's your private key and there's also a public key. Mm-hmm. Who has access to the public key?
I think. Are you talking about the address? The public. Well, you're talking about the seed phrases.
Security and the encryption aspect on the back end.
Yeah, but
trust me,
you know about this.
Yes, I do, and I'm going to dive into why that's important. So when you look at what Bitcoin was, it's proof of work. So it's highly expensive. It's very slow. And they talk about it being digital gold, which is pretty much it. Right.
Hmm.
But they also can track, they know every place it's ever been. They know what you bought it at, and they're going to tax you on it because they did the work to say that during the Biden regime that they're going to tax unrealized capital gains.
But the thing is, right? Unrealized. I thought it's only gains when you cash it out.
No, this is going to be the danger of unrealized gains.
Yeah. See,
It's
I think, right, in my opinion, if you earn an income or you make a return on your assets, you should never pay taxes. And I'll explain why.
we're aligned in this 100%,
Yeah. I
and this is
think,
where we're going to go.
yeah, at the worst case scenario, right? Let's say I wanted to make this make sense within the system. Obviously, it shouldn't exist at all. But when I buy something with the money, let's say I buy goods, that's when I benefit from cash because I've just purchased something and now I'm benefiting from, yeah. But if I store money forever and I never ever spend it, there's no value. So why should I be taxed?
Well, this gets into the question of who's in control behind the scenes and who wants your money,
Hmm.
right? And you used an operative word that is so crucial, which has been at the core of my being for probably 30 years because of how I was brought up and how I was raised. You brought up the word sovereignty, right? We want our health sovereignty, we want our financial sovereignty. Allegedly, we went to war over it a long time ago, to create our sovereignty. Yet we were imprisoned again. And 11 years ago, one of the chief research fellows from Microsoft had created a concept called SSI, self-sovereign identification, which was at the time a theoretical approach to create a post-quantum encrypted lockbox for every single person to have, that all of your data could be stored in that box and that you have it secured. No one has access to it. No one can see it. You can use it, and then you can monetize it. At the time, no one really understood what this guy was saying because he was so smart, but he ended up leaving Microsoft and has worked with a team of really the top data scientists and coders and programmers on the planet over the last decade, and that have built it out. I was introduced to the team about a year and a half ago. And basically what they've done is built that mechanism to where it's live, it's functioning, and each person, your medical records, your health data, all of your crypto assets, your banking assets, all of that is stored in your personal. And make sure you hear what I say: post quantum encryption. No quantum computer can hack this stuff, and that's
Right.
a key. No one can get into it. No one can access it unless you provide your direct personal permission to use any of your information or your data, which means you're either going to choose to release it, or somebody's going to end up paying you for whatever information it is you're going to release. I've been working with them for a year and a half in order to prepare to deploy it. And that's, as I was talking about with Root being an algorithmic fintech ecosystem, the ability to actually build in layer 0 and layer 1, as a foundation for sovereignty. Because the biggest asset that we have is not anything that you hold in a wallet. It's not anything you hold in a bank account. It's your information, your data. And the biggest black market in the United States happens to be your medical data, to the tune of $1.4 trillion a year. Money is flowing through different businesses and different business brokers that are actually selling our medical data in the United States. Every single American is supposed to own all of their data, but they don't.
Hmm.
So the first thing we have to do is take back our information and take back our data. And then through that approach, we can actually monetize it. You can tokenize assets. And this is the beautiful part of what the Genius Act actually did, is while they were handing the keys over to the largest data conglomerates in the United States, they left the back door open that if people chose and had the means or the mechanism to secure all of their data, all of these companies that are supposed to be building the financial infrastructure for the new CBDCs in the United States, they have to have the data. Now, if they're not going to get it for free, they're going to have to pay for it. And if you control it, they're going to have to pay us. They
Of course,
pay
yeah.
every American for that data. If drug companies want to do drug research, they're going to pay the people whose medical records are needed in order to do the research. You won't need health insurance because the tokenization and monetization of your health data is actually going to fund any health care you would need. This could be pharmaceutical, it could be surgical, it even could be nutraceutical.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
So we start this shift, and it's the beautiful part of balance in this world of where one side is making this massive move to create centralization. There is the approach and the mechanisms for decentralization also coming at the same time. The good part is while they might be aware that this is taking place, they're actually moving at the same speed at the same time, and the centralization aspect doesn't have access to the decentralized
Mm. Let me
world, but the
ask you though.
decentralized world will determine how the centralized world works.
Let me ask you this. A lot of people, I think, are waking up, and there've been, a lot of people now today, especially who were asleep 5 years ago when we started doing these interviews, are now speaking up. And I find that there's been a very big shift in awakening in the masses of people, um, and I find that the more people wake up, I'm seeing the systems collapse slowly. Right? No
Yeah,
one's buying into it. No one's buying in the media. No one's buying in the banks. Everyone's looking for alternatives education for their children. Do you see what I mean? And I feel like every time they push, there's another little bit of awakening. And then they push more, bit of more awakening. And every time they push, there's a drawback. So we got to ask ourselves, how much would they need to push for complete enslavement before it's too late for them to lock us in full enslavement, because the rate of humanity is waking up at a faster rate?
I think this is, and I've had this conversation over the last month with a few of my colleagues that are in town with us in Nashville. And you can equate this to the religious aspect. And I'm insanely spiritual in understanding where we are, who made us, what we are. I am not religious as far as a construct. But I'm going to speak to our Christians that go to church all the time. And I think this is part of the control mechanism. It is
I agree.
it is in
I
all
agree.
aspects, but in the United States, the Christian right, I had a couple friends that kept telling me, "Oh, we're waiting for Jesus to come back." I'm like, "He's not coming back because he already came." And this has been the benefit of what Christina and I have had over the last 6 years of traveling to major parts of the world and being in different areas of the world that I never expected to be in. I never thought that I'd be speaking on panels in Davos. I never thought that I'd be friends with royal family members in the UAE. I never thought that I would get to have the opportunity to lay on the floor in the Sistine Chapel in the Vatican, which was kind of dope. Not just go visit, but actually lay on the floor and have the same perspective that the painter actually had, and have conversations in these world. And there's truth, whether you're Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, any aspect, Christian, Judaic, not Khazarian, there's a difference. They all know Christ. Christ is truth. So you can't argue that, right? And it was funny because one of my colleagues was with me over last week, and he was talking with my youngest son, and he's like, "How do you know Christ was resurrected?" He's like, "Go to the Temple Mount and stand in front of it and watch the hair on your arm stand up, and you know truth. It resonates with us."
I agree.
But the key is understanding that the narrative that you're being indoctrinated into might be meant as a control mechanism to keep you away from understanding what truth was, because what Christ taught is that I am you. You are me.
Can I?
And it's on us.
Yeah.
This because the key, and it's well written, is that Satan, evil can win if good does nothing. Right? That's the only way it happens. So it's not a matter of being aware or awake to it. It's acting. And without action, you will be a victim. Right? You can sit on the tracks and sit there and go, there's a train coming, and not move, and you will die.
Mhm.
Or you can say, oh, there's a train coming, and you can feel it, you can see it, you can hear it, and you get up and you move off the tracks. You're going to have a better outcome. This is the point. If we can talk about what's going on, you can be aware of the chaos around you, but if you're not acting, if you're not doing the things that are necessary to take care of yourself, take care of your family, take care of your community, and act in accordance with community, you will be victimized by the system. Because as you hit on, the banking system, everything is shifting. I will tell you this, they are not sitting stagnantly. They're not going to watch the system crumble around them. I've seen so many people talk about Nasara and Jasara, right? And this changing of the financial systems and how everything is going to go digital and there's going to be all of this money transferred. Yes. Are you going to get it? No, you're not. Because you really think a system that is built on control and power and the accumulation of assets is going to fall apart and not make sure that they have their hands on what's coming in the future? If you don't act, they'll take it all.
Mm.
It's in
Yeah.
the documents. It's in the Genius Act. And it was the craziest part going over with my tech team, because my chief technology partner is the former CTO at Cisco and Hypercom. His team built the data fabric systems that run Bay Microsystems. They built the tax system for the Japanese government. And when Palantir has a problem, they get phone calls because Palantir's not running on their own platform. And what everybody probably saw yesterday is that Coinbase, one of the largest crypto exchanges, doesn't even have their own nodes. They're running on AWS, which means the largest crypto seller and provider actually has no security at all, which is freakish when you look at it. So the whole thing has been a facade.
Mm.
So with that, we are responsible, right? And I think the important part in this is, what you and I and people have done over the last 5 years is, working to build that community of knowing that we have to do this all together, right? And from a philosophical basis, when we look at health and wealth, Christina and I have taken a different approach from the start. While most people are out trying to get everything that they can, try to sell something to make money, through the business approach of this fintech approach to doing things, I think we've hit 100 million now. So we've given away $100 million to people that have actually created the value. You're part of that. I get to see the numbers, and it's amazing to see how even people that have no social influence, right, are actually having life-changing financial outcomes as well as health outcomes because of community.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's what's crucial, is aligning your buying behavior, aligning your safety, your security in accordance with what longevity is going to be. Because if we're not acting on things, we will be victimized by the system, and that's intentional. So I agree 100% that people are becoming aware and they're becoming awakened. But if you're paralyzed by everything else and you're not acting on it, it really doesn't matter. You're just looking around going, wow, I heard that was coming, but wow, it hurt when it hit me.
I think awakening isn't just being aware. It's also embodying knowledge, like becoming the awareness.
Absolutely.
Remembering you are
The
awareness.
key in that, when you look at it spiritually or when you look at it biblically, if you're going to go in the book, we're not judged on what we do. We're judged on what we know, right? Because you have your actions, but if you have knowledge and you don't act on it, you're also guilty, right? So you can know something is going to happen and do nothing.
Hmm.
In the eyes of God, you're guilty.
But don't you think that I see, in the past few years, I've shifted from what I believe to be God. I don't believe God is what we've been told. I believe that God, which is the Christ field, is another word of that is basically awareness. And
And that which is above us and
that is
surrounded us.
who we are. We're all before Clayton Thomas and Nicholas Veniamin, before the soul, the character, the story, the experience, and before the thoughts even and time, we are awareness and we are
Yes,
witnessing. And I believe that is the God source within us.
that's our soul. And when you look at string theory, right, it's the understanding that everything's already played out. It's where it is in line. The past, the present, the future are, and there's multiple timelines that exist within this same space, and it's based on our experience and what we choose and what we know and how we act and what we do. And knowing that there's nothing that is predestined, right? But it's based on what we do. But we know there's multiple outcomes that are predicated on our choices, and it's very very likely that we choose to be here, and take the form that we get to come into this world in, and then form this timeline and this experience for the time that we're here, right? And we're given the hints along the way, because we forget who we are when we come here. When we take this form, you get to play the game. You
Yeah.
don't you don't remember how you were created and where you came from. That's part of the process of learning. Oh, this is who I am, right? It's like Samuel L. Jackson, quoted as Jules Winfield in Pulp Fiction. Reach in the bag, grab my wallet. Which one is it? It's the one that says, "Bad mother, shut your mouth." Thank you, YouTube. Right. And it's understanding who you are. Right. And as Christina wrote in her first book, and Cure the Causes, the understanding that we are each an imperfect piece to this perfect puzzle. Every one of us is divinely unique intentionally. And our job is to become our best self. And in so doing, your electromagnetism, it's the nice part of being out in the woods today. That's not AI, that's real.
Yeah, I can see the leaves moving.
And the understanding of what it means to connect with nature. And when you start to resonate the way that we're intended, we will connect with our environment, but you'll also find that you properly connect with those people that you're made to connect to, and through that you'll connect to everybody else. You don't have to appease everyone. You're not made to connect with everyone.
Let's
We're
talk
made
about,
to connect with.
you mentioned electromagnetic field, very interesting because of grounding, and that's what we are basically. Awareness, your soul, is we have a toroidal field around us, and it can be measured in physics as well. And the more we embody truth and the state of presence and being and stillness, our toroidal field expands. But
Yes.
when we interact with fear, guilt, and shame and ego, our our light gets dimmed. Okay, um, so we also have an electromagnetic field, if you like, the ozone layer of Earth, the electromagnetic field of Earth that's thinning, which they're pushing for climate change. Okay, and what I have studied, and I want to ask what you think, is as it's thinning, the sun is able to now penetrate us with plasma frequencies, which is um, expanding human consciousness. What do you think about that? And that's, well, partially the reason why humans are waking up, and this is why they're pushing this, in my opinion, and allegedly the climate thing agenda, in my opinion. And this is just my opinion. I'm not making any claims. Just wanted to put it out there, but and why somebody wants to block the sun.
Yeah.
Uh, what do you think
Yeah,
about that?
exactly. It's like, no, no, no. We need you to live in darkness, and we are beings of light. We know that. Physics has proven that. If you look deep enough in a microscope, you eventually get down to the fact of understanding intracellular energy and the fact that it's a big bundle of light. So That part is absolutely true. When you look at our electromagnetic field and toroidal field and everything, it whether it's the environment but also within us, you can measure that through heart rate variability. We actually had some amazing stuff done by Dr. Stefan Rao back in 2021 of doing HRV. They can measure your aura, your chakras, your doshas, your meridians, right? As well as your autonomic nervous system output. So looking at sympathetic and parasympathetic function and how all of these components electrically function. And we know that if you take 10 drops of clean slate and 2-0 in about 45 minutes, everything shifts. We watched his data. He lost 2 decades in his biological age. His meridians, his aura, his chakras, his doshas all went almost perfect. Yeah. He went from about 40 to 50% function across the board in each area to 90, 97 to 100% function in 45 minutes. So watching the electrical component of how components of nature that are intelligently designed by a bioscience engineer and a quantum physicist, which is what Christina is, that she's literally programming nature to reprogram the body. That we see that. We know that it's already done. And then what you see is when you take those mechanisms that were proven in heart rate variability in 2021 and you apply that against a diagnosis, and just so everyone understands, you don't have a disease, a disorder, or a syndrome. You never did. You were given one. You were given a diagnosis as a means of coming up with a treatment protocol based on the pharmaceutical and pharmacological design that a physician was trained in medical school to follow. Mm-hmm. But there is no disease, there is no disorder, there is no syndrome. And actually, beautifully, the World Health Organization published the truth in 1976. But the crazy part of 1976, the internet wasn't online. No one's actually gone back and done the research to say, well, what was done 50 years ago? Now, when I started studying environmental toxicology 20 years ago and was on PubMed and really started diving into some lit reviews and research because we didn't have the mechanisms that we now have, one of the first things I found was this paper by the World Health Organization. It's 104 pages on addressing what they knew at the time. And they knew in 1976 and published that 85% of all chronic degenerative disease was caused by one thing. Imagine that. 50 years ago, we knew that all disease, almost all, whether it's diabetes, autism, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, ALS, MS, go down the list, was caused by one thing. One thing only.
Oh, what is that? Let me guess. Parasites?
Nope, mercury.
Mercury, right. And is this fact or is it allegedly?
No, this is fact. It's 104 pages of research. I'll send it to you on WhatsApp when we're done.
Okay.
It's 104 pages of research published in 1976 based on meta-analysis that they had done back into the 1950s and 1960s to understand this. But mercury is the worst neurotoxin known to man. And people are talking about parasitology, right? And parasites. I was studying parasites when I was 8 years old. Now, you have to understand terrain theory in order to understand parasitology. Parasites are not the problem. Parasites are like cockroaches and rats. If you have cockroaches and rats in your house, you don't have a cockroach and a rat problem. You actually need to clean your house because you live in a cesspool. Because if you clean your house and you have a clean environment, then you won't have a rat and cockroach problem because they don't go hand in hand. Now, when you look at this issue from mercury on down, mercury is the worst neurotoxin known to man. It damages every organ system and every system of the human body, but it does it differently in every single individual. It's beautiful with how nefarious it is. Very, very early fetal developmental exposure to mercury, and I'm talking egg and sperm coming together and life starting, because they thought at the time in 1976 that 35% of all mercury was passed into the womb. Now we know it's 70 to 80%. But this very early bathing of this zygote in a bath of mercury and other environmental toxins, which is what we're dealing with when we're in the womb, can cause genetic manipulation. So Down syndrome and sickle cell trait have the same cause. People think they have an MTHFR problem. You don't. You're mercury toxic, and mercury exposure in the womb actually shuts off or will disable effective methylation, because the methylation pathways of the body pertain to liver detoxification, which is a primary mechanism to remove mercury. So mercury actually shuts off your body's ability to remove it. It shuts off glutathione production. You actually should never take glutathione directly as injections or take it as a supplement, because it has to be endogenously produced in the body. It's the same
Right.
thing with estrogen or testosterone. You're actually training the body to not do it. So mercury is the etiology. It is the primary cause of all of this chaos, but then it exacerbates and amplifies the negative effects of all these other toxins. And then that toxicity in the body allows the proliferation of fungus. The fungal overgrowth, and this is something that Christina's been lecturing on for 15 plus years in the healthcare space and in pharma and biotech, and they've researched it, right? Aggressive forms of Alzheimer's, when they did necropsies on them and took their skulls off, they had mushrooms growing in their brains, right? So it's not what we think it is. But the fungal overgrowth, which is the big problem, the fungal environment allows for the proper environment for parasites to overgrow, because we have parasites in us. You have to. It's part of your biosphere. The overgrowth or the improper growth or the types of parasites that might be in you and sometimes shouldn't be there, but you don't have a parasite problem. You have an environment problem. That's terrain.
What you're saying, there's a, of course, that's the symptom of it, but you're saying the root cause of that is mercury.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not saying it. That was published in 1976.
No, absolutely. And I'm hearing that the clean slate can get rid of that.
Yeah, it's the foundation. And what Christina, she's a bioscience engineer and a quantum physicist and nanobiotechnologist. So because of her history and what she's done and where she's been, when they were working on HIV, the way that you treat HIV is through a cocktail, right? Because the virus itself, and oh, sorry, everyone. Yes, there are viruses, there are bacteria, there is fungus, and there is parasites. Sorry, they exist. So if you're trying to go at something specifically, you can't hit it with one thing because they're too intelligent, right? So you have to use a cocktail. So in addressing the complexities of the human body, you can't just say you're going to do one thing and that one thing is going to solve everything. There's no placebo effect, but there's also no silver bullet and no cure, right? There's no panacea that if you take this one thing, it's going to cure everything. That doesn't exist. This operating system is way too complex. So what she did was build a series of products that each are all antifungal in their different aspects, but are going to address the reprogramming of the system. So Clean Slate is taking nature's most powerful crystal, which is clinoptilolite, and figured out a way to break apart this crystal without damaging it, because clino is so special. And I've studied clinoptilolite for over 20 years. This has been a focus of what my role has been in understanding environmental toxicology, that this amazing little crystal is nature's most abundant bioavailable source of orthosilicic acid, or bioavailable silica. And it's also the mechanism that can grab onto and bind heavy metals and environmental toxins. So if processed properly, you could create the mechanism where you can deliver the silica and grab onto the bad guys. But what Christina also did in that process was load the cage structure with sea salt and trace minerals and ascorbic acid to improve cellular permeability, to allow this now patented process with multiple patents and proof to deliver the bioavailable silica, deliver the trace metals or trace minerals, and start removing the toxic metals, the mercury, the cadmium, the arsenic, the lead, the cesium, the strontium, the gadolinium, the glyphosate, a lot of the other environmental toxins. Grab onto those and work to remove them, deliver the good guys, because here's the fun part of how society has put the truth in front of us, and we have to understand it. Silicon Valley is named Silicon Valley because of the silicon-based microchips that built the computer industry. We are a quantum computing system. We are a big bundle of light, and we are a biological computer. Well, we need silica. We need bioavailable silica. It's been the one thing that we haven't had in our lifestyle. That is what allows us to upgrade, the same way that you upgrade microchips. This crystal is nature's most bioavailable source of the bioavailable silica that we need for the upgrade. She unlocked it.
Right.
So Clean Slate provides that foundational mechanism, but then Restore is helping protect the gut, allow it to heal. Zero In is the gas for the engine, which allows your gut to start producing dopamine and serotonin, a little norepinephrine, a little acetylcholine. So you've got those neurotransmitters from your gut to your brain, so you can do what you want when you want. You don't feel fear. You don't get fatigued. You can dominate whatever it is you want to do, whether it's work, whether it's relax, whether it's sports, activities. You have the functionality. But then building in the rest of the series, like Sculpt and Crush. Crush is a mechanism that bypasses protein synthesis. You don't have to eat steak and eggs. If you have a combination of essential amino acids with their peptides and HMB and phytoplankton, and then the components to assist in liver metabolism that actually speeds up the liver's ability to process those amino acids into muscle, into energy, into power. You don't need to eat toxic food sources. She did this intelligently. And then Sculpt is a mechanism that actually restructures your sugar metabolism. So it starts pulling sugar out of muscle back into your bloodstream so your body can metabolize it all. And it's a natural GLP-1. We had the hardest time getting that product approved in Switzerland because the Swiss government knew it got rid of diabetes.
Wow. Yeah. And this is not allegedly, right?
No, this is all the crazy part, like I was talking about. This is published.
Mm-hmm.
It's all we're not talking, trust me, we're talking theory. This is true. It's done.
Right.
And this is the important part of where we sit. We don't have to buy the hype anymore. We're aware.
Yeah,
we know
absolutely.
we've been lied to. I mean, I watched a video of a chiropractor scammer on Instagram the other day saying that nicotine is proven to cure Parkinson's and dementia. He said on an interview that he's trying to sell nicotine gum and other shit. And he's like, it's been proven to cure Parkinson's and dementia. And you can really quickly do a little research and see that there's no truth in that at all. And this is the problem of where we sit. We innately know truth. We're built for that. If
you resonate with it.
We're functioning in a healthy environment and we're working. We know truth. Therefore, as you hit on, we have to get back to our roots and start to understand if I know truth, I have to trust in this, not the noise.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's our journey.
Well, I'm going to leave the link below for the Clean Slate because that's something that I've been taking for a very long time. 5 years now I've been taking Clean Slate. And I, not only me, but I've been sharing it with my mum and my dad. And it's a very, very good stuff. And it cleans the gut. It cleans the brain. It decalcifies the pineal gland. It clears brain fog. It actually helps me with vivid dreams. So I remember my dreams more. But I'm going to leave the link below. Please do your own research as well. Everything we're speaking about, just for, this is, open debate, open discussion to explore the space, like you said. And Clayton, is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish?
You know what? Welcome to the revolution. And take the time to invest in yourself. The next couple months are going to get a little crazy, a little hectic, but know that, find truth, find the way to align with truth. And the cool part is, this is one thing Nicholas and I have been going over for a long time, 5 years. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
absolutely.
What was the old adage? The truth shall set you free.
Free.
There we go.
Exactly. The truth, and the truth is within you. The truth is you, is you. When you remember that you are the truth, you are not illusion. I does not exist. It's I is separation, the illusion of separation. Absolutely. But Clayton, thank you very much for sharing that with us. I really enjoyed our interview, and we'll speak again very soon. And give my best regards to Dr. Christina Ram. I really have a lot of respect for her and for yourself too. And we'll speak again very soon. Bye bye.
Cheers, brother.